Hey guys, I've been stressing out about this video. Number one, because I would like you to see my facial expressions when I'm talking to you or if I'm pointing my finger at you. But my my webcam wasn't working for a couple of days and I couldn't understand why. And I just keep forgetting that there's a button beside my laptop that I can turn on and off and it'll function perfectly. Okay. So for the last couple of days, I have a listing up in Mesa. It is a manufactured residence. And I've been told, whenever I call the people back, generally it's people that have no representation. And when I ask them if they've already applied for a loan or if they would like to apply for a loan, they're saying that they're going to wait for prices to drop. And it it's been a little bit frustrating lately, especially because of all of this coronavirus outbreak and everything that's going on that people are freaking the hell out. Um, like I said, it's a little bit difficult because everybody's predicting a so-called recession, and I am coming across a lot of buyers that are actually qualified that don't have a down payment assistance excuse me, that don't have a down payment. So they're going to be using a down payment assistance program. And in reality, they're using a down payment assistance program because they don't know how to save, right? So if they're saying that they're going to wait now because the prices are going to drop, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to qualify when the prices are low. Because if there is a recession, we all are in risk of losing employment. We're all at risk of the coronavirus. I mean, getting sick, having medical expenses, and all of this other stuff that can add up to not qualifying at that point. But, anyways, I wanted to prove a point. So, the last couple of days, I've been looking up um, statistics, right? So I started in 2001 with 2001 statistics. And as you can see, it is ongoing. I'm going to 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, and it's been taking a really long time for me because if I try to generate the entire city of Tucson, obviously there's thousands and thousands of sales within a year in the entire city. So that kind of limits me to having to wait. Actually, the first comps that I started generating, I started, if I look here at the time, if I look here at the time, it was 121 when I started. It's 420, and I'm still working on this. Okay, so one of the things that I wanted to show you is when I was pulling all of these statistics, as you can see here on my Google page, I really wouldn't come back with any information as to how many homes sold as REOs or short sales for the first couple of years from 2001 to 2009. I couldn't find any information. I'm not saying that there were no REOs or short sales. I'm just saying that in central Tucson, in the parameters of a three-bedroom, two-bathroom house between 1,300 square feet and 1,600 square feet, there was no information. Okay. Why did I narrow it down to central Tucson? I mean, it's the hub of Tucson, and I just wanted to be able to display an area that covers a lot of different types of property, single family homes. Obviously, I'm not using condos, I'm not using, so in my statistics, I'm not using condos, I'm not using townhouses, I'm not using duplexes or income or any of that other stuff. I'm just using single family residences, as you can see, between with three or more bedrooms and two or more bathrooms with a combined square footage of 1,300 to 1,600 square feet. That is typical, that is the average. So that's where I'm getting all of these numbers, and all of these sheets take a couple of minutes, as you can see. Even if it's just 245 homes that actually sold, it takes a couple of minutes to generate. So, anyways, it took me a while to gather up all this information, as you can see, by a year, and it's all going to be the same. So I put it all in my Google Pages, or what is this? I don't even know what it is. But I had to put it on Google because if I try putting it on Excel, Vidyard does not record Microsoft Office. It only records anything that's on Google. So it took me a while, but we're here. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you're not on your cell phone. Hopefully, you're on your PC. And you can see all the statistics here from years 2001 all the way down to 2019. Okay. So, what point that I want to make is that I don't know about you, but I felt the bubble burst in 2008. That's when I felt it because I was employed as a drafter. And in 2008, as soon as I graduated, I was laid off. I didn't think much of it at the time. It was a little bit traumatizing. I was talking to Angela about that, and I think that I have a little uh, trauma about that because I had just graduated, right? Like for me, it was, yes, I'm out of the world and now I can do whatever I want and I can get whatever job or whatever. And I got laid off. And it was very difficult for a couple of years. Actually, I didn't go back to drafting until 2016. Well, I mean, yes, I did draft freelance, but for somebody else that I was actually getting paid good money to do some drafting. I didn't get back into that until 2016. So well, actually in 2009, I moved to Mazatlan and I learned a little bit of Illustrator and used AutoCAD and got a little bit better at it, but it was more of an internship than a job. So from in between those years, I had to do everything from bartending, being a server, working for my dad, working as a teacher, working as a behavioral therapist with kids with autism, being a teacher's aide, and all of the above to get back to, when construction started going back and when there was flippers all over the place, and right now we're at a point where everybody's flipping and there's a lot of money in investment property, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody's freaking out because Tucson prices are really high and Tucson salaries are not as high, and a lot of people do not qualify for the average price in Tucson, which is currently somewhere around 250,000. So back to what I was getting at is I'm very frustrated with these types of conversations that I'm having with people saying, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the bubble to burst, or I'm going to wait for prices to drop." They don't drop out of the blue, guys. They don't drop out of the blue. If somebody goes into foreclosure, they have a 90-day grace period that they can come current. So if they pay those 3 months that they're behind and they come current, the time starts all over again. So you may be headed into foreclosure and freaking out about it. And I'm not, I by no means am saying, come current and then start the process all over again. But in 2008, there was a lot of people that were not automatically evicted when they went into foreclosure. A lot of people were able to get away with the short sale, which impacts your credit just as much. But it didn't happen overnight. So if you're expecting Tucson prices to drop in the next 6 months or in the next year, this is why I'm showing you these numbers, because if you can see right here, when I select in 2008, like I said, a lot of you may have felt it before, but I'm going to start using, what I recall 2008 to being the bubble to burst. In 2008, as you can see, 2008 and 2009, I still have no information on REO properties, right? So if the bubble burst in 2008, people still had 2 more years to purchase. It didn't happen overnight. Banks had to go through a whole process, a whole legal process to be able to get rid of the people that were living in their homes. Okay, so people didn't just automatically get kicked out of their house. It's not possible. And by that time, a lot of people had lost their jobs. A lot of people were moving into their parents' house. A lot of people in construction and cleaning and all of these companies had to figure out a way to live. And my point is that even if the bubble bursts, you are still paying somebody's mortgage. Maybe not your own, but you are paying somebody's mortgage. And yeah, you may only be contributing $300 towards that mortgage, but why not have somebody be contributing $300 towards your mortgage, right? I mean, you can have a house, and if things get really tight, you can share a room with your children and rent out the other two rooms. I mean, if you have the ability, and the reason why this is so frustrating, don't think that I'm criticizing anybody. I've always wanted to own a house, and I actually rent right now, and it's always in the back of my mind that the reason why I don't rent is because I'm a real estate agent. And unfortunately, I used to always I'm used to getting full-time jobs and doing real estate on the side. And until this year that I started doing real estate full-time is I don't have the history that you need to qualify for a regular loan. Like I can probably qualify for a hard money loan, but I also need to save up for the 20% of whatever it is that I want to purchase. So either which way, my frustration isn't with you. I'm not trying to judge you. I'm just trying to teach you and educate you on what is possible, what is very, very unrealistic, and why you're probably shooting yourself in the foot because right now you qualify. Right now you can get down payment assistance. You don't know if in the next 2 years you're still going to be employed. You don't know if you're going to have health for those 2 years where you can show how many hours you worked and where you can show that you had the same amount of income throughout those 2 years. So, okay, let's take it back to 2008. And for some reason, I keep forgetting that you're not watching me touch the computer or point to the computer. So I'm going to try to focus my mouse on where you're supposed to be looking. 2008. As you can notice, in 2001 prices, the average price in the house was $118,000. The lowest price in 2001 was 48,000. In 2008, the average price was 219,000. Low price was 95,000. High price was 440,000 compared to in 2002, the high price in Central Tucson was able to get up to, that was the average, guys, 925,000. So we're still here in 2008. The median price was 180,000 and the average days on the market were 97 compared to the prior years. If you see, these were high average days on the market. Then we approach 2009 and we go from 190,000 to 163. So prices started dropping. The average prices dropped. Prices in Central Tucson, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, between 1,300 to 1,600 square feet, detached. They started dropping. The lowest homes, obviously, here's where investors were starting to compete. They went from 34,000 to 48,000. So it's not only investors because they can do cash, it's a lot of people that buy and hold that were qualified to get conventional loans. So if you notice here, in the high prices, it actually went down. It went from 480,000 to 385,000. And the median also went down. It went from 180 to 160, and the amount of days on the market went up. In 2011, we can see prices drop again. The average price went from 163 to 142,000. The low price went from 48,000 to 20,000 average. That is when was the perfect time to buy. But guess what? If you qualified for a loan, you were competing against an investor that had a full cash offer. That's very difficult to actually, that is super difficult to compete against. I have represented buyers that have competed against investors, and cash is king. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, if I have a listing, I prefer the cash offer. You can close faster. There's less things to go through. You might be able to waive the appraisal. Some people even waive the inspections and so on and so forth. High price stayed the same, and the median average went down from 160,000 to 135,000. The days on the market started getting longer. In 2012, and as you can see, this first line on the graph tells me how many homes were, what the total properties on the market were. So as you can see, I do not have any information for REOs and short sales in 2009. In 2010, from 2009 to 2010, I have 245 properties on the market, 21 real estate owned. Those are the properties that had already gone through foreclosure. The bank was the seller, and 10 short sale properties, meaning that the bank had to approve. So that's why you see higher days on the market, because when there is a short sale, the bank has to approve, and sometimes it could take a lot of time to get there. It can take 4 months or more. You don't necessarily have a quick closing. There's a lot of documentation involved. I personally don't have experience with short sales. I wasn't a realtor when this happened. But I may need some education on it sometime soon, because if that's going to be the case, if there is a recession, there will probably be a lot of short sales on the market. Perfect for investors, not perfect for buyers, because buyers generally have a time crunch, especially when they lock in their loans. When it comes to a short sale, that's a little bit more difficult to do. But back to 2012, 298 properties on the market, 120 real estate owned properties. 120. And this is only central Tucson. You can imagine if we add northwest, east, south, and all of the extended areas. 24 short sales. Average price was 123,000. The low price was 25,000. The high price stayed very similar, 365,000. But again, it went from 95,000, 925,000 to 365,000. That's a big difference. The median went to 115,000. Now, this should have been my year. This is the year where I would have qualified perfectly for a house and been able to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, fantastic property in Tucson. But I was probably in Douglas working as a teacher's aide, which I should have known better, because I actually did qualify, because I had the employment for 2 years. In 2012, 2013, there was 283 properties on the market. 72 of those properties were real estate owned. 39 were short sales. The average price was $126,000. The low price was $37,000. As you can see, this starts going up because there's more competition and there's more cash buyers. High prices, it went up as well. Why did it go up? And probably because investors were buying these homes knowing that they can flip them and sell them for a lot more later on. They were probably buying and holding and renting them out until the time came to let go of them. The median price went up as well, 119,000. Average days on the market went down. This is when the market started getting better. People were still afraid to buy, or they still needed a couple more years to qualify. However, there were people in the market purchasing. In 2014, 294 properties on the market. 46 of those were REO, 34 were short sales. The average was 149,000, the low 34,000, high 140,000. This one doesn't seem right for some reason. I may have plugged in a wrong number. Let me double check. I actually flipped the numbers around. It's 410,000. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. 410,000. The median went up to 138,000, and the days on the market went down to 40 days. In 2015, we see 292 properties, and this is the entire year, guys. 32 of those were REOs, 7 were short sales. So we can see that the amount of short sales are decreasing and also the amount of REOs. There was not as many REOs as in 2011 and 2012. Those were the foreclosures that everybody thinks they can find now. But if you notice in 2019, there was 403 properties in the market in Central Tucson. Again, I want to remind you that it's properties that are 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, between 1,300 and 1,600 square feet. And there was only 6 real estate owned and only 3 short sale properties. And the values were, the average was 194,000, the low was 87,000, high was 413,000, and the median was 180,000. Again, I want to repeat, this is Central Tucson. If you're currently searching in North Tucson, West Tucson, Northwest Tucson, Northeast Tucson, or East Tucson, prices are way higher, way higher. So don't get stuck up on that the median price is 180 and then you can get this type of property and a flipped property and a fully finished property for this price in 2000, because that was 2019. Prices are very different nowadays. But let's go back to 2015. 292 properties, 32 real estate owned, 7 short sales, 149. 53 was the low, 339 was the high, 140K was the median, and 48 days on the market. And as you can see, guys, the market has gotten, ever since 2015, it's very competitive. The average days on the market has gone, has fluctuated from 82 to 109, and now we're at 32 days on the market in Central Tucson. This may be because there have been a lot of flips which sell pretty fast, and there have been a lot of sales recently. But I mean, I just want to show you, my main point, and I needed to show you all these numbers so that you can see that the market doesn't just drop just out of the blue. And you can see it here. Angela was mentioning that she realized that because Angela lived in Vegas, and she told me that she bought in 2006, that was the first wave of foreclosures. So maybe the bubble burst up in Vegas before it burst in Tucson. So their statistics may be a little bit different. What I'm showing here is that we went in 2008 from 0 information on REOs and 0 information on short sales to, in 2010, having 21. That's where we started seeing the lower prices. And 2011 from 21 to 87. That's big increase. 2012, 100 REOs. And this, again, I want to repeat, this is just Central Tucson. And I am limiting square footage, so there's probably tons more REOs. But as you can see, the high concentration of REOs and short sales was in between these years when the bubble burst, well before then. And as you can see, the high price was in 2007, where properties were selling a lot higher. So that's one. Let's pretend that right now we're in 2007 and the market bursts or the bubble bursts or whatever you want to call it, right? Let's just pretend this is 2019 and this is what average prices are. You're not going to get there overnight. I repeat, you're not going to get from 228,000 to 123,000 overnight. There has to be a lapse of a minimum of 2 years for you to be able to get there. So it's very, very unrealistic to consider, because I don't know if I created a video. Unfortunately, I only did it in Spanish. I need to make it in English too. But I created a video talking about how we throw money away in rent. And when I'm talking about this, I apologize, guys. I get so passionate about it. I want to educate you so that you don't throw your money away. My main goal is that you are informed, because I'm not bad mouthing investors. I'm just saying that you will be taken advantage of. And I'm telling you, I'm educating on what you can do so that somebody else is paying your mortgage. Or otherwise, if you don't get educated, if you don't get disciplined, and if you don't start making better choices, you're the ones that are going to be renting from me with full disclosure and full education as to what you can do to prevent this. I've been saying this recently a lot is if you rent, you're paying a mortgage. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Even if the person owns that house, you're paying a mortgage and it's not yours. And you cannot do anything with that money. You cannot sell that property. You cannot paint that property. You can't do whatever the hell you want with that property without asking for permission. If that person wants to sell that property and gives you a 30-day notice to get the hell out, you might have to get the hell out. If that person sells that property and the new owner wants to increase your rent, you really have no other option because they can evict you. So believe me, guys, when I'm telling you this, I'm watching out for you guys. I'm not like desperate to sell a house. I mean, I can do anything. I can be a bartender. I can go back to drafting. I could go back to interior design. There's a lot of options for me out there. I'm trying to educate you on what is best for you. So, aside from the fact that it is a lot of work to educate buyers, and sometimes it takes a lot of months. It's not like, oh yeah, I qualified this month, we're going to find a house tomorrow. It doesn't happen that way. Sometimes it takes 6 to 12 months to be able to find the perfect house, and I'm used to that. You're probably not. You're probably going to, as soon as you qualify, you're probably going to be like, hey, we need to find a house, oh, and you're going to give up a month after when you haven't purchased property because you're frustrated because you waited too long. I hope that you found this video informative. I hope that if you qualify, especially if you have the opportunity to purchase with down payment assistance, or if you have the opportunity to purchase right now and you're seeing a property on the market that is still available, I hope that you jump on it and stop all of this nonsense, because trust me, it's nonsense. If it gets too tight in the future, you can rent rooms out. I hope this helps. I hope you share. Peace out. Get educated. Save up if you don't have any. Work on your credit and ask. All of my information is free. You're not going to lose anything. Yeah, I might bombard you with phone calls to follow up on how it's going, but we don't charge to give you information from the get-go, right? The listing, the seller always pays a commission, so you've got nothing to lose. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great one.